taking time out of your day to join us. Check us out at 1370WFVA.com, Advancing American Freedom, of course, AAF. Eugene Kontorovich joins us as we talk a little bit about some of the things that have happened over the last few days and also get his sense of really what's going on with the conflict in the Middle East and some other news stories. You know, Eugene, I read your article in the Wall Street Journal, and I want to get to that in just a bit, but I do want to ask you a little bit about yesterday's vote in the House. Sadly, our representative voted in favor of moving forward to try to not support Israel, which, you know, I would have told you 2 or 3 years ago that kind of vote wasn't really possible. I think that, you know, you'd always have a handful of people that would vote for it. But, you know, I'm surprised how far the Democratic Party has gone, especially what I saw in that vote. And, you know, a few members from the Republican Party, but it really kind of surprised me.
Yeah, the Democratic Party has been captured by their most Islamist radical faction. Just to put it in perspective, they yesterday voted to ban all military assistance to Israel, but at the same time providing military assistance to Egypt and Jordan, which are dictatorships and monarchies. So we get so much more from our military assistance to Israel. This is really, I think, can only be understood as an anti-American vote, because Israel is such a strong American ally in a real sense. Israel is what's preventing Americans from having to have boots on the ground in the Middle East. America's fighting Iran without boots on the ground, but Israel has been putting boots on the ground in Iran and greatly helping America. Israel has taken out terrorists wanted for decades by the Justice Department and the State Department for killing Americans. Israel has basically assassinated them just in the past couple of years. No other American ally has brought justice to terrorists that kill Americans. So taking military aid away from Israel is basically disarming America.
Well, you know what I also found interesting, too, and, you know, a lot of my news source comes from actually going over and listening to Israeli news and getting some great reporting from certainly the sources over there, and I think that our American media just does a terrible job, especially when they report on what really is going on with Israel and what they're actually doing on our really to help us out, not only in this conflict, just in general in that region. You know, I do find it interesting, too, is that when we look at, you know, for a long time, there have been many people in Lebanon who have really just wanted to free themselves and unshackle themselves from Hezbollah. Hezbollah is a massive entity that threatens its people, and a lot of people, certainly in Lebanon, want to be free. But you know what's not getting a lot of coverage, Eugene, is that, you know, it seems to me that those forces in Lebanon that want a closer, safer relationship with Israel, they're actually having really good talks and really good negotiations right now.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Israel and Lebanon signed a historic agreement just a couple of weeks ago in which Lebanon made peace with Israel, recognized Israel, and they both recognized essentially Hezbollah as their common enemy. And in particular, Lebanon has a very large Christian population. It used to be the majority. And, they have essentially gotten sick of being ruled by the Shia militia, Shia terrorist group supported by Iran. Some Christians in the south have even asked for Israel to annex their areas because they would rather be part of Israel than a Iran, Hezbollah-dominated Lebanon. So there's been actually a lot of really good news. You know, the surrounding Arab countries have better relations with Israel than ever before, just as the Democrats are trying to pull America away, and that's very ironic.
Well, it is kind of ironic, and you're being very kind with that word ironic as well. I think that when we look at, you know, certainly some of the things, I mean, they just, Israel recently signed to have a diplomatic relationships with Colombia. That's just adding to a list of people who want to continue building strong relationships with Israel as well. Eugene Kontorovich, of course, we're talking to him about really a lot of different things. But, you know, I want to get back to your article in the Wall Street Journal. Really good job. Congressional campaign against Jewish charities. So you have Democratic lawmakers. Here we go. Earlier this week, we have Democratic lawmakers enlisting the GAO to investigate the compliance with IRS requirements by groups supporting Israel presence in the West Bank. You've got to be kidding me. Are we going to ignore all these other organizations that are in here that are clearly not only anti-Israel, but aggressively militant towards Israel, who are getting money from Hamas, getting money from Iran, getting money from China even to promote this message. This is just, once again, a frustrating element of what is happening down in D.C. with the Democrats.
Yeah, so basically they are targeting groups just because they support Jewish communities. And this is part of a democratic effort to create like a no-Jew zone in the biblical heartland. That's, the idea that it's a crime for Jews to live in the old city of Jerusalem. That's frankly shocking, or in the holy city of Hebron. We could not imagine Democrats saying about any group anywhere on earth that this people has no right to live in a certain place. But that's what they're trying to do with Jews in Judea, and they're trying to weaponize the tax code against them. This has been something they've been after for decades. Of course, so many groups that are active in that area, left-wing groups, are supporting terror organizations, working hand-in-hand with terror organizations. They're not calling for an audit of that. They're calling for an audit of groups that support civilian communal needs of Jewish communities.
Well, this has become a huge issue here in New Hampshire in our campaign, that basically we have many people who we wouldn't necessarily, Eugene, call typical New Hampshire Democrats who are now running as candidates. And, support for AIPAC is now a threshold, a benchmark. If you have voted for them in the past, if you have contributed money to them in the past, you are no longer gratis in the Democratic Party in New Hampshire. And I'm watching some of these candidates who are more moderate, if there is such a thing, try to navigate this conversation. But it amazes me how far this has gone, even in this midterm election. Yeah,
I think the Democrats are just going to double down on their, it's what's called the Red-Green Alliance, right? It's both they're becoming more communist, that's the red, and making a common cause with Islamist groups. That's the green. And the moderates are afraid to confront it for some reason. I think one of the great things about the Republican Party is where there has been, signs of antisemitism from some corners.
Right.
The mainstream of the party has confronted it, all the way up to President Trump, have confronted it vigorously and absolutely rejected it. The Democrats don't have that capacity, and I have a theory about it.
Okay.
Really, what the socialists and Islamists, what they really hate is America. America is a settler colonial nation. America is a Christian nation. America is a nation that's strong. They see it as an empire, and they want to bring all that down. But they can't boycott America because they live here and it's kind of nice and comfortable. They must admit guiltily to themselves. So they're conflicted because it's great to live in America, even though they're ideologically against it. Israel is like a little America. They can project all the sins of the West upon Israel and boycott it because really they should be boycotting America. And that's exactly what was going on with the vote yesterday, right?
Yeah.
They object to America fighting Iran, but they're not going to cut military aid to America because then we'll all be speaking Chinese. And that's hard to learn. So it's much easier to just have Israel be literally the sacrificial lamb for the sins of the West, perceived sins of the West.
That is such a dangerous and not forethought idea that just frightens me all the way around. Advancing American freedom, of course, Eugene Kontorovich. Before we let you go, Eugene, the president's going to give a speech tonight. I believe over the last few days there seems to be, I don't take too much what Bibi is concerned about. I know they had a little tiff last week, but it seems to be a much more concentrated since Iran has just violated everything that they've tried to sign, not only with us, but throughout the history of the existence. What do you expect to hear from the president tonight as it relates to how Israel is part of this conflict and how we'll be moving forward?
I think he's going to reaffirm what he's said consistently, that Israel is a vital ally, that Benjamin Netanyahu is a great wartime leader, and that none of our so-called allies who we protect with American troops, are able to actually fight on the front lines alongside us the way Israel is. And, America, the confrontation with Iran is crucial for any America First policy. If you believe in America First, you have to believe that having Iran impose taxes on global shipping is not something we can abide. Because that would raise prices at the pumps, that would raise prices for American consumers. So the Iranian regime needs to be prevented from creating a toll booth on the Persian Gulf. That also means it needs to be prevented from having nuclear weapons which would protect that toll booth. That's the only way forward. It's not because Trump wants foreign adventures. It's because he wants to avoid them. It's not because he wants forever wars. It's because he wants to stop the forever war that Iran has been fighting for 50 years against us, and Israel is the ally that is going to make this possible.
Once again, before we let you go, Eugene, Advancing American Freedom, this is where we go free range. Any final thoughts? Because I've had you cover a lot of stuff this morning, but any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, I just think it's really important to understand that the alliance with Israel is not a favor to Israel. Mm-hmm. It is a true partnership where there are benefits to Israel, but there are massive benefits to America. And of all America's many alliances, it's the only one that gets questioned, but it's the most valuable. Jordan would not exist without U.S. support in a way that is not the case for Israel, but that never gets questioned. And I think it's exactly because the attacks on Israel are a proxy at attacking America. People want to weaken Israel specifically to weaken America, and one should be very suspicious of that.
Yeah, very good points. We posted Eugene's information up online, so please check them out. Eugene, thanks for joining us this morning. We look forward to chatting with you again.